Welcome to Season 4, Episode 2 of the Outlet F1 Podcast. This is a 2022 news preseason update thingamajigger. We just wanted to get together and podcast talking about Formula One. All four of us together for the first time in as long as I can remember. Feels like it's been a long off season. So we'll kick it off. Andy, how are things going?
I'm doing good. Getting excited. Yeah, I mean it's fun to get back into the swing of things. We've got cars getting revealed. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. Lots of changes. We're going to get into all of that shortly. But it's exciting times.
Sure is. John, you look great. How you feeling over there?
It's been a rough weekend. I think I got some bad takeout, but I'm hanging in there. So we should be sponsored by some stomach medicine this week. I'm doing all right though. I got a bunch of crackers and pink stuff in my system, so I'm happy to be back. It feels like it's been an eternity. My computer did not want to turn on tonight. It's been a few weeks since it's been kicked on, so had to get the dust off that thing. But yeah, happy to be here. It's been exciting times. Loving the launches, loving all the different design philosophies, which we can talk about later. But yeah, exciting times. Looking forward to the future and trying to forget about the past.
Yes, technology issues, the bane of any amateur podcast existence. D, you know that just about as well as anybody. It's good to actually see you today. I think last time it was
only
just a black
480p.
Screen, so.
Yeah, so you're looking at fly in 480p over there.
There was a time when 480p was pretty good.
Let's just pretend it's still then. Just constant technical issues. I love it. It's been me and all of my equipment have enjoyed a nice long off season. My camera's not quite ready to come back apparently, but I'm excited. We're getting back to the season. Had Daytona today. I will be at St. Pete next weekend, which I'm excited for. We have testing coming up, and then first race right around the corner.
Yes. Daytona was a thing that happened today. Austin Cindric with the win there, so congratulations to him. And yeah, IndyCar next weekend. I'm getting pretty excited for that. That'll kind of fill the void for just the last few weeks. We are almost there. But before we get into everything, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, and YouTube at Outlet F1 Podcast. You can, of course, check out the link tree on our Twitter page. Please do us a solid and click the like and subscribe on YouTube, or click that 5-star button if you're on Apple Podcasts. All right, so you can also email the show at chatnow@outletf1.com, and our website can be found at www.outletf1.com. We'll find all sorts of things, including some of our previous episodes. We do a plug. We actually do a F1 for Beginners episode every year, so that'll be coming out, I think, in just a couple weeks. So make sure you keep an eye out for that if you're a new fan or not really sure what's going on with a lot of these new regs and things. We're going to do our best to break that down for all of you. And, of course, you can check out Relapped with Deanna, where she still has her Abu Dhabi recap and the way too early 2022 predictions, which I was a big fan of. So make sure you go check out that video. The ending is quite a treat. Andy, why don't you tell us about Outlet F1 Nation, because they continue to step up.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome when we get a new one. We just did. Very, very special shout out to Jonathan Scott for becoming our latest monthly contributor. And he is added to the folks that have already been contributing and continue to do so, which is awesome. And thank you, everybody, so much for continuing to do that. Those people are Cody Walsh, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzik, Richard Cole, Travis Colby, Timothy Brown, Hillary LaRose, Mary Brown, and, of course, Matt Polanski from the Red Sector MotoGP podcast. I saw some MotoGP testing going on, so I'm sure they're ramping up just as much as we are. So it's great to see. Thank you all so much for continuing to do that.
I'm looking forward to the Drive to Survive MotoGP edition, whatever they're going to call it. But
the Amazon Prime thing?
I'm looking forward to that.
That should be fun.
If nothing else, just to see high definition.
I hadn't heard of that. Is that something coming out soon, or is that they're going to film?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be dropping in the next few weeks.
Sometime in the next
also
few weeks.
For last year.
Yeah,
nice.
No idea if it'll be any good, but worst case scenario,
there should be one whole episode about Maverick Vinales. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, and for our supporters, obviously we've interacted with a bunch of you guys in the past, but if you're new, definitely shoot us a DM on Twitter or your social media of choice. We'd love to get to know you guys. I think Jonathan may be based in my hometown, so based on his profile, so that's pretty cool. So definitely give me a shout out. Maybe we can get a little watch party going on from time to time and in good old Charlotte. So we need some love down here. But yeah, so
yeah, when that email came through as Jonathan Scott was promoting the show, I thought it was Big John Scott, former NHL enforcer.
Former NHL All-Star.
This is true. Yes, he was. Very deserving, too. All right, so yeah, thank you to all of our supporters. You can also support the show by going to manscaped.com, using code OUTLAP, OUTLAP, all one word, for 20% off and free shipping. We do love all of the Manscaped products. All right, so this is a news episode. We're going to get right into the news, and we're actually starting with a very special announcement for our own show. And for that, I'll hand it off to Andy. Take it away, sir.
So as we will be posting on our different media platforms very, very shortly, we've been teasing this in the last few episodes, but we are proud to announce today a partnership agreement with Ship It Studios. In case you don't know who they are, Ship It Studios is a content company dedicated to providing the world's biggest fans with the content they deserve. They revisit your favorite sports, entertainment, and films through reviews, interviews, debates, power rankings, and fantasy drafts. The Ship It Podcast Network has shows that are nationally ranked in upwards of up to 30 countries and was recently named a top 50 podcast to subscribe to in 2020 by FeedSpot. With this partnership, we at the Outlap F1 Podcast firmly believe that the increased exposure of being part of the Ship It Studios network will enable us to achieve our core objective of becoming a true resource for news, opinion, and coverage of the sport we love and the sport we love to talk about, Formula One.
That was very nice.
Good. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, perfect. Great PR guy. Yeah, we are super excited to be joining Ship It Studios. So look out for some big, exciting things coming that way. Probably pretty soon, some upgrades to our YouTube channel and how we display our episodes there. So yeah, super excited about that. Another partnership so we can keep growing this show and bringing you the best possible product.
Yeah. And at the core, nothing is really going to change. You may hear some different ads. You may hear some different stuff that we promote from their network, and then their network will then help to promote us to other people. So more eyes and ears getting a chance to, because what we found is when we find new people, they tend to like what we're giving them. So that's kind of why we agreed to do it. I'm super excited. Had several calls with their owner, Michael Campbell. I'm just, like I said, I'm pumped for what this is going to do for us. It's a good night.
Hell yeah. And in pretty shocking news, I think we were caught off a little bit off guard by our next news story, but super exciting as Formula One fans here in America. We might have another American team out there, hopefully one that doesn't display the Russian flag as their livery. Andretti Global coming to F1. Deanna, what can you tell me about it?
So, leaked initially by Mario Andretti himself, they have apparently put in a kind of proposal to the FIA, and they have all of the funding. They have a plan in place. They can pay that $200 million dilution fee if they want to enter. They apparently want to, if this happens, expand the facility in Indy so that they can actually manufacture a lot of their own parts, but will have a home base in the UK. They want Colton Herta to come over, which I'm thrilled about. Maybe get another F1 American driver in there as well. So there's just really a lot of positives. They want an American driver in that team. And just another team in F1 is fantastic for the sport as a whole. So, yeah.
Yeah, things were coming at us pretty quick. And at first we weren't sure if maybe Mario sent what was supposed to be a DM as a tweet. It kind of screwed up some plans, but I think it was actually pretty smart to get it out there. Especially because then all of a sudden we started hearing about how F1 isn't technically looking for new teams. And Andy, so what's the deal with that? Because it seemed like the air was let out of my bubble a little bit, but it made me feel better when you explained it last time. So do that again.
Yeah. So the FIA has and they've done this with a bunch of things. Like you'll hear the word called the tender process. If they want to engage a new tire manufacturer, they'll open it up to bids. They do the same thing with new teams. And the last time I think they did it was, I believe, 2014, where they had the Haas ended up winning the bid, and they were basically the only one. I think, ironically enough, there was another bid from a Mazepin group that was going on during that time, and then they only could show money. They couldn't show facilities, so they went with the Haas group. Irony of ironies. But as of right now, that tender process is not necessarily open, and I saw that article come out, right after the Andretti announcement was basically put out there. But I do think if Andretti can check all the boxes and they show financial viability, there's no reason why they wouldn't. The ideal grid is effectively between, I think, 22 to 22 cars. They want to have maybe 11, maybe 12 teams in it. They just haven't been able to be sustainable until now. One thing I would tell you is Andretti was 48 hours away from the acquisition of Sauber, and it was a last-minute change. So all of that financing and stuff that he had ready to go is still ready to go now. They're just going to do it themselves. So I do think this is real, and I think it's going to probably happen because if the FIA and F1 want to crack the U.S. market, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, and I heard some rumors that potentially the engine supplier would then be Renault. I don't know if you had heard that or not, but there's actually a picture that came out of Michael Andretti with I'm going to get his name wrong, but he's like the head of.
It was
of
a Renault
Alpine
exec,
Renault.
yeah.
Which I guess was floating around a couple weeks ago, but nobody kind of put the
there hasn't been a lot of traction to that. Now, the only reason now that is a lot of, I think, people saying, well, what makes sense from an engine supply? It can't be Mercedes because we know they're supplying the maximum number of teams.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think Red Bull powertrains with them just now starting up would be a natural place for them to go. So that leaves you with Ferrari, maybe. I don't know. I mean, they've already got 3 supplies right now. So maybe Renault would be the obvious choice. The question is, can they get the engine up and going enough to want to do it? And that's kind of a bit of an unknown at this point. But apparently, according to Michael's tweet on Friday, they said that they've got an engine supply in place. So whatever is ready to go is ready to go.
I think what you might see is I saw a couple of things. Renault said this week that they were going to focus on horsepower over reliability. So they might be fast and they might blow up a lot. Similar to the old Honda days. Well, minus the fast part. Sorry, Andy. But I wonder if you'll see like a 2-year-ish stopgap with Renault potentially. And then, everything's talking about the partnership with Porsche and Red Bull. Porsche potentially could, if they fill both Red Bull teams, it's only 2. I wonder if maybe we'd have they'd try to pull into a Porsche deal or something like that, which would be pretty badass in my opinion. I'm excited about this approach because I kind of got all excited about Porsche and Audi, the whole situation there, but obviously it looks like that's just going to be like a Red Bull kind of collaboration there, not necessarily a standalone team. So we need more standalone teams, and I'm hoping that this gives us that avenue. And obviously the American driver piece is huge. So, but yeah. $200 million.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we need a few more supporters to get to that level, I think.
Yeah. But I think how they phrased the $200 initially, this was a long time ago, so hopefully I'm remembering this correctly, because you're diluting the prize fund at the end of the year. It's an investment that you will hopefully get back over time to make those teams kind of commit for the long run. So it's a lot up front, but I kind of see the reasoning behind it. And if they can actually get that funding in place, go for it.
Which could potentially be Gainbridge from what I saw in places too.
That
sounds like they got some money to throw on.
They're going to sponsor Miami GP as well. Yeah. So it looks like they're entering F1 at least through that avenue. So it would make sense if they were title sponsor there as well.
Yeah. A lot of money, but just the thought of Colton Herta being an F1 is pretty awesome.
And the other name that Andretti has, Kyle Kirkwood, who's won everything he's ever been in. You could easily see a Herta Kirkwood eventual All-American lineup. Wouldn't that be something? Just think about that for a second. Them going around like Coda or Miami or maybe Vegas. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be just way too much?
Other thing that I really liked about this is that they also want to start F2 and F3 teams. And I think that would just be a fantastic pipeline, more so different than the other teams where just they have driver programs and they're all in different teams, just kind of with funding. But to actually have those teams, I think it'll be a really great pipeline for North American drivers to come over. So hopefully in the long run as well, that helps kind of get more.
Yeah, because right
diversity.
Now, as an American driver, your path is pretty much limited to, road to Indy type setups. And so, this opens the door and potentially, we're coming off a week where we saw the ratings from Abu Dhabi that were higher than the Super Bowl. Clearly, in a year we saw record-breaking numbers in COTA. The worldwide audience is obviously there, but the American audience is definitely flowing through, and hopefully that continues, and we don't see a drop from Abu Dhabi, and we can kind of all move on from that and be excited. I think these cars they look incredible, so I think hopefully that's gotten everybody's juices amped up for the season. But I mean, everything's primed and ready to go for kind of an American, a full-fledged American entry and a full, backing and everything else, what Haas was supposed to be, and hasn't turned out that way anymore. But yeah, potentially 3 races on the calendar. I mean, it's just amazing.
All right, so I think screw getting our faces on that wall at Zandvoort. From now on, our new goal is to get some sponsorship on the new American F1 team. How about that?
There you go.
It might be about this big, but
Look, I can see it.
Hey, McLaren has the sneaky Kiwi. We can have the sneaky outlet.
There you go.
Just put it on a little part of the car.
Just freeze frame and then blow it up a bunch, and then get your magnifying glass.
All we need is
out.
grid walk access. I'm pretty quick with those stickers, John. You saw me.
Oh, I know you're a freaking ninja with those things. So guerrilla marketing over there.
All right, so you did mention Abu Dhabi. You did mention Abu Dhabi, and there's obviously a huge news story coming from there as well. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to pick apart that whole onion and then hopefully put it to bed forever. All right, so we'll be right back. Welcome back to Season 4, Episode 2 of the Outlet F1 podcast, where we're breaking down some of the 2022 preseason news before we move into some of the practice sessions and get ready to start the season. We've got our F1 for Beginners episode coming up soon. So if you are a new fan or maybe even a seasoned fan, just want more explanation on something specific, make sure you reach out to us. You can email the show at chatnow@outletf1.com. Anything you might want to see on that episode. You can also contact us through our website at www.outletf1.com. And speaking of any good business that has a website, if you have a business, you need a website. What's the best way to get a website up and running? That's by choosing a website hosting company that makes it simple, like Pair Networks. Pair has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pair makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building tools and features, including simple drag-and-drop page design. And they have guaranteed US-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it. That's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pair Networks, you'll receive 1 free month of web hosting. See for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free. Visit pair.com/free to get your first month of website hosting for free by using the code QUICKSTART. That's all one word, QUICKSTART. That's pair.com/free, promo code QUICKSTART to get started today. John, they might just be putting your buddy Chris out of business.
Hey, that was beautiful, man.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
So now that
I think you found a new career over there.
Yes, I've read my word quotient for the day, so let's go ahead and move on with the episode. And now let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Andy, since I can't pronounce these first 2 guys' names, I want you to tell me what happened to my boy Michael Massey and who's going to be taking his spot.
So, in short, Michael Massey has been moved aside, at least in the position of race director. He will retain some sort of a position within the FIA. What that's going to be has not necessarily been announced, but he will probably still continue to get a paycheck. But the role of the race director is now being taken over by 2 separate people. Now, there won't be 2 race directors per race. These people are going to do a rotation where one will work one race, the next. They'll probably have like 3 or 4, where one of them will work, and then, however they're going to do it. They haven't necessarily announced that. But some names that you may be familiar with. One is Eduardo Freitas, and Eduardo is currently the race director of the WEC. If you're 24 hours at Le Mans, he's the dude that comes on and says, safety car coming out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then they hit the button. He's very experienced, ever present in the world WEC since its first race in March of 2012. He's taken charge of every WEC event and has over 40 years of experience in motorsport. And the other guy is Niels Wittich, and he currently is the race director of the German DTM. So a lot of times DTM has had a lot of former F1 drivers. Paul DeResta raced for DTM. Pascal Wehrlein raced for DTM and was quite successful, and that pretty much launched him back into Formula E. So he's been with basically the deputy, I guess, of sorts of Michael Massey, and has been part of the F1 race control team at several events already in 2021. So it looks like Eduardo comes in and is probably going to help to teach Niels how to do it, at least initially. And where this goes, we'll have to see, because it's never been done before.
Now, John, as the resident Lewis Hamilton stan, how does the decision make you feel? Are you ready to move on from last season and put it behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I was ready to move on, I think, that night, actually. I think I was the one saying, don't even bother protesting because it's not going to change. I was a little disappointed in the opening line of the statement saying that Michael Massey had done an incredible job, which I wholeheartedly disagree. And I had that opinion long before Abu Dhabi for a variety of reasons. Abu Dhabi is just kind of the cherry on top of everything else. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that there's some changes. When I first saw this, I was hoping that it was going to be a two-person job, because I feel like maybe that was needed, but there is going to be some support systems in place to help out the race director. As with the stewarding, I'm not real happy about a flip-flopping between races. That scares me a little bit. I feel like the number one thing that F1 fans have asked for years now is just consistency across the board. And, just give us that. Like, give us one person and let that be that one person. So I know we've got a plethora of experience, in there. I'm happy that Massey's gone. I don't think he was the right person for the job. And a lot of that, like I said, happened long before Abu Dhabi from a safety standpoint, and some weird decision-making and delays in decision-makings. So hopefully a lot of that is gone with someone with a plethora of experience, especially with Eduardo. And, hopefully the support staff and some of the virtual race controls, things like that, hopefully that really aids in making decisions promptly and in a more efficient way. So, yeah, I'm happy. I guess Lewis Hamilton's happy. He's officially back. I don't know. A part of me wondered, would he really walk or not? But, yeah, I'm happy that, he's back, and hopefully we can move on. And we have a hell of a good season ahead of us, so.
Yeah. So, unfortunately for guys in positions like Eduardo and Niels will be in, no matter how good they might be at this job, there's going to be a lot of people that get really, really mad at them at different times, because that's just kind of comes with the territory. Deanna, you got something to say about this first part?
Yeah. I mean, I just have a lot of thoughts. I think Massey being fired is definitely the predictable outcome. And I think there's definitely a lot of incidents that you could point to kind of support that decision outside of Abu Dhabi. Kind of the Spa debacle, both in qualifying and in the race itself. Last year, Mugello, the restart, there was Turkey, a qualifying incident where there's a safety vehicle still on track and they started the session. There's been all sorts of stuff. But I don't know that I love the solution right now. Having two different race directors, again, like John was mentioning, feel similar to stewards. Having different stewards doesn't feel like a good idea. I really think they should kind of break down what all is compiled in that race director position. So back in 2019, when Massey took over, Charlie Whiting used to be the race starter, but they broke that bit out. So I think they should continue to kind of do that. So maybe having one person kind of calling the safety cars, red flags, all that stuff, another person that is referring incidents, maybe somebody that's kind of that quote unquote rules expert that's looking at something like Spa, what do we do in this situation? I think that would be the better issue. And then I think also stopping the teams from communicating, that was just way too much for one person to do. It's just, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully if this doesn't really work, they figure out a way to pivot. But we shall see.
I will say, I don't agree with them comparing it to VAR, because VAR is a train wreck in football. So that's probably not the best analogy for them to use, but I like what they're saying there. I think a lot of major sports, they have, the quote unquote, the war room You've got a room of experts that know the rule books better than anything on earth. They have a gazillion screens and a gazillion replays and every little inch of data that you could possibly imagine right at their fingertips. I like that to try to help facilitate decisions one way or the other. Hopefully it works better than VAR because that's, again, a train wreck. But I do think it seems like all major sports are heading in that direction. And I think it makes sense for F1 to certainly carry through. They just need to make sure it's executed correctly. That's kind of the key with all this stuff. So
yeah, so that you've mentioned the VAR thing a couple times. So that is one of the changes that's coming. Deanna, I'm going to give it to you here so you can kind of give a high level overview of some of the other the Massey rules as you're dubbing them. What else should we expect to change going into next season?
Before we get to that, Andy, do you want to comment on this?
Oh, you guys had all mentioned, having extra support. They are bringing back Herbie Blash, who was Charlie Whiting's right hand.
Yep.
He will be in the room. What his role is going to be, I think he's just listed right now as a consultant, but just to have that level of experience in the room at the same time has got to make this a little bit better.
Agreed. Okay, so some rule changes that we are calling the quote-unquote Massey rules because they are as a result of decisions that he made. So first one is around the safety car itself. This is only one rule, and I think there's going to be continued kind of revisions, and this might not be the only change that happens. But what it has to do with is for what triggers the safety car to come back to the pits at the end of the following lap. Currently, as written, it was once the last lap car had passed the leaders, the safety car would come in at the end of the following lap. But now it has changed to the drivers will receive the message, lapped cars may now overtake. And once all drivers have received that message, the safety car will come in at the following lap, end of the following lap. It doesn't mean that all lap cars have to lap the leader. So that is a thing that is happening. We can talk about that more in a hot second. And then so as we kind of mentioned before, there will be a kind of remote race control similar to the VAR that will support the race director. No more real details around that at the moment. Then the direct rate of communication to the race from the teams to the race director has been removed. So no more FIA radio. And then after Spa, there is a new point system based on the percentage of the race that has been completed. So now for points to be awarded, there has to be a minimum of 2 green flag laps. And so the points that will be awarded from 2 laps to 25% of the race distance, only points from P1 to P5, and then 6 points all the way down to 1 point. And then from 25% to 49%, the top 9 score points. So that's P1 getting 13 all the way down to P1 getting 1 point. So that is close to the half points, but it's rounded up. So half points have effectively been abolished. And then the 50 to 75%, P1 gets 19, and then all the way down to P10 and 1 point, and then 75% of the race distance and over will award full points. So those are the Massey rules.
So John, looks like you had something to say after the lap cars may now overtake.
The immediate first thought that came to mind when we say that we may go green flag while lap cars are still potentially trying to make their way past cars and potentially past the leader is there may be a situation where like Nikita Mazepin may be side by side with the leader as they're taking the green flag as he potentially may not have overtaken yet or something like that. And that seems like a disaster waiting to happen. Because they're going to be obviously in their own agenda. And especially if there's multiple ones, you may have 2 different battles going on at the restart. There's a reason that like NASCAR changed that a long time ago because we had, 2 different battles going on and it just created chaos and wrecks and everything else. That I don't agree with that system. I feel like that should be more of a case-by-case basis. If there's not a sufficient amount of time, or better yet, just make the decision as they go across the line, and then you've got a full lap for everyone to get around. It shouldn't be that difficult for this to work out.
I mean, you'd think that they would want to have that message come up in the first third or the first sector the prep.
Give them plenty of time to
the preceding lap.
You got a lot of settings that have to be changed.
Right.
You got all kinds of stuff that needs to happen before restart. So
And
you don't want to be like Abu Dhabi and make a decision, with 20 seconds left in the lap.
No, and it'll be interesting to see, do we get, like, I know one of the things that was almost a signature of Michael Massey is when lap cars would overtake, he would generally wait until they all came around again. Do you end up with a situation with one of these two other race directors where maybe they're only a third of the way down the lap or something like that? So, I mean, yeah, I can see where this is like painfully vague because we haven't seen it work yet. So yeah, I don't know. I guess my thought on it is I'm not sure yet because I haven't seen this thing in practice.
Hopefully common sense prevails.
One would hope. We do know who we're dealing with, though.
Way.
So it's bizarre to me. I feel like they should have just stuck with the rules that they have instead of it feels like they're trying to backfill the rules to make them match what happened in Abu Dhabi to allow that to be possible, which I feel like there's a better way to do. I don't want to say that as
a Mercedes fan, but yes.
There's better ways to do that. Maybe it's within 5 laps remaining, we red flag and we start if that's really the issue. I think it feels... And why it kind of made me nervous as it was happening, it was because I thought lap cars were overtaking as we were going green. This doesn't feel like the safest way to go about doing this. And I don't think there's a problem with the way the rule was written. There's a problem with the way that things were executed in this specific case. And I think there's better ways to fix this problem. Right now, this is just very vague, and this doesn't seem like a step in the right direction. I think more is going to come of this. Vettel had a kind of interesting take, like maybe just dropping lapped cars to the back of the field. So that happens pretty quickly. They just remain a lap down, but everybody's kind of around where they should be, or cars they're racing against. But
which would make total sense to me. Other series do similar things as well.
I think, though, that kind of, if you have the leaders kind of in the middle of the battle lapping through, which they were, it kind of sucks for the people that got lapped. But again, I don't really have an issue with the rules how they were. It would have been anticlimactic to see it end under safety car. But yeah, this doesn't seem like the right way to go to me.
Well, I think too, we've had a whole bunch of safety car restarts over the years, and we've really never had any issues if you take out Abu Dhabi. So clearly the rule, as you're saying, Deanna, clearly the rule was effective and worked fine. And we never even thought about the rule because it just worked. So yeah, changing the rule, I agree with you 100%. And there's no real, need for that. So, and I think you said, that night even, that there needs to be kind of what you alluded to a second ago. There needs to be an exact point where 5 laps to go or X number of % of the race or whatever. That's a red flag. Everybody wants to see it end, live racing. Nobody really wants to see it end under a safety, car. But have set procedures in place. It's not that difficult to do that. I mean, we all do these things in our day-to-day jobs now. Why can't F1 do this?
We can make it about the show while still operating within a considerable
framework.
Make it clear.
Yes, this doesn't have to be one or the other.
No surprises. Yep.
We can walk and chew gum.
We're
it's possible. We can do this.
So I wholeheartedly agree. I'm happy half points are gone because that was really annoying last year to type and talk that, say that for the rest of the season. So, the 2 laps sucks. Hopefully this never, ever, ever, ever happens again, where we have a spa situation. So hopefully that's kind of a, not something that we ever have to really deal with. But if we ever got a race with 2 laps, that would suck almost as bad as Spa.
Well, at least they'd be green flagged. I mean, at least that means that you deemed it good to
Maybe
go,
we'd see one
and something else happened that caused it not to.
Yeah, I'm not going to be hoping for rain anymore still after Spa. I'm over it.
We're all
traumatic
scarred.
Experience.
Yeah. And I'm also just kind of worried that the Ferrari side pads are going to fill with water and it's just not going to be good. So
I've seen so many memes of that. One with the Eau Rouge, meme, and then the other one, it's just a swimming pool on each side of the pod.
Oh boy! All right, so Deanna, you want to take us through the race weekend changes?
Yes.
Trying to figure out how to talk again.
So some changes here. So first of all, to sprint races, which we'll talk more in detail in a second. But now officially, pole will be awarded in our normal Q1, Q2, Q3 on Friday. no more of this Speed King situation. That is done. We're done. Thank God.
Yay. Yay.
So actual pole will be whoever qualifies fastest on the Friday. But now points will be awarded from first all the way down to 8th place. So getting more of the midfield involved there. And then there will only be 3 sprint races, and those will be in Austria, Brazil, and Imola. Next, basic change, but better for the teams. Press conferences are moving from Thursday to Friday. Also better for the teams. There will be longer curfew periods to hopefully allow the teams to sleep more, but there will be more of those joker things that I think it was like whenever they were allowed to break curfew. So I think there will be more flexibility on that as well. They also, which I'm excited about this, want to have more technical insight for the fans. So for every race weekend, they will have a quote unquote show and tell, where a senior member of the team before FP1 and after qualifying will detail the parts and upgrades they brought for this weekend and kind of go through that. So we have more, can see, get a look under the hood really for what all of these teams are doing, which will be great. So now also basic change, drivers no longer count as operational personnel. Insignificant change apparently allows them to get in and out of the paddock more quickly. Now
I think that's a Lewis Hamilton rule, because I know I've seen this where like he goes, there's a guard that stops him and goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm a driver." He's in his helmet.
Yeah, he got stopped at the turnstile.
So yeah,
in full race gear, helmet down,
exactly.
visor,
Who the heck do you
everything.
think he was?
And then last two here. So now each team is required to enter a young driver or just a driver that has been in less than 2 F1 races in both of their cars. So we'll have every 20 drivers essentially across the season, or 20 of those FP1 sessions, 1 for each car. 2 per team. That's a better way to phrase that.
And
anyway,
yeah, that's just, it's one session, right?
1 FP1
At
session.
some point during the season,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
And it'll be for each car. And then finally, the gearboxes are now restricted number components. So they will be treated like power unit elements. So you will have a pool of gearboxes instead of having to use them sequentially. And it's still, if you kind of go over that, a 5-place grid penalty. And then finally, I'll just wrap up. There's a couple changes to testing. So now Abu Dhabi postseason test, it's only 1 day, and they will have 1 driver from their 22 lineup, 1 young driver. 2023 preseason testing will return to the normal 1 day, 1 3-day test. And then testing prior cars. Currently, the rule says you have to use a 2-year prior car. So using the 2020 chassis to test outside of their 22 cars. But it's been amended because we've had such a big rule change that you can use the 21 cars, but it'll go back to that 2-year jump in 2023. So that should, so far, that's all the rule changes we have, I think.
All right, thank you, Deanna. So Andy, I'll go to you first here. We'll focus on the sprint races. I think that was kind of significant. We had started seeing some rumors that we were going to get more sprint races, and I think the general consensus, at least on this show, was we didn't want that. We didn't want to have 6 or 7 in the season, as we've talked about previously. So it's now official. There's going to be 3 races. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that and how that's going to look?
Yeah, so I mean, there was a proposal out there for potentially up to 6. Part of the compromise with the cost cap and everything is they've gone back down to 3. So we're going to see the sprint format used at the I'm not even going to try it. The Grand Prix at Imola, the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, and once again at Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Imola is kind of an oddball to me, why you would want to make a track where the qualifying can be electric and the racing isn't great. Have more racing? Not sure I get that one. Same thing with Austria, because like Austria is usually your closest qualifying of the season. I mean, last year, I think you were down to the hundredths of seconds between P1 and maybe P8. So why you would want to bring more, stretched out racing at the Red Bull Ring. But I mean, the Red Bull Ring can be entertaining. So that one might still work. That one's fine. Interlagos, I think, does make sense. That was electric last year. So I'm fine with having a sprint there. But, we're still going to get, obviously, the traditional qualifying session. We're still going to have, like Deanna said, we're going to get rid of the Speed King, which, thank God, that was just strange. So, I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
They actually made it easier on us. Now we can just call it the sprint now. So there's no more debate there.
Yeah. I'm still not in love with the sprint races. I don't love the Imola decision for one of them. I like that there are more points, so hopefully we'll see more of a battle all the way kind of down through the midfield. Because there wasn't much of that when it was just the first three. And even then.
That's a good point. Is everybody on the same page with that? I'm definitely a fan of the more points. I saw Andy, you were shaking your head. John, are you on board with that? Or
yeah, I mean, I was hoping for actually 10 points and have it 10 through or 1 through 10. But it's a step in the right direction. Because that was the issue. It seemed like very quickly everything we'd have some action real fast, and then with the exception of Brazil with Hamilton, everything else would kind of just settle in, and people would say, okay, it's not really worth me taking a risk. Now you've got an incentive to take the risk. So yeah, I'm all for potentially, someone maybe, if you got someone that's not typically in the points and they've got an opportunity to try something, then yeah, let's do it. Go for it. Send it.
Yeah, I'm still a little concerned though, because the only one that was really truly entertaining was the Brazil one, but that was because Hamilton was in the reverse back grid, basically. Of the field. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think we enjoyed that first one last year, but I think it's just because it was shiny and new, and we wanted.
It was the fun race weekend, to have. Yeah. It's a fun format, weekend format, but I don't know about the sprint race itself. I'm not in love with yet.
Yeah.
You still have to have it in places. And I know everybody was trying to line up and said, hey, we want a sprint, but you still have to have it in places where the fan engagement is almost over the top to make it, I think, really viable. You have the crowd at Interlagos, I get it. I don't know, Imola has not been open to fans.
Yeah.
I could see Austria, the Red Bull Ring, that'll be electric.
Yeah, Austria's going to have it. Brazil's going to have it. Yeah. I mean,
Imola's the only question mark.
I feel like
Imola's a really big question mark, and I really would not have been anywhere near even top 10.
I love Imola, but that's not. But there's a reason it wasn't on the counter for so long, because it's barely, the width of two cars. Overtaking is difficult. It's an old school track. It's
an awesome motorcycle.
To me, if you're going to an Italian race, you're probably going to go to Monza anyways. That's going to be the cream of the crop there. So yeah, if you're looking for fan engagement, I mean, Coda obviously I think would have made sense. You can overtake at Coda, and we've clearly shown that fans will show up, and we'll go crazy on Saturday and Sunday and everything else. So yeah, I think Imola's that one's a little funky to me, but whatever. Who knows? This may be the last year we have them. We'll see how they go.
Hopefully with the new cars, it's better. One rule change I did forget to mention, though, from earlier, the sprint races reminded me of it, is we no longer have the Q2 tire rule.
That's true.
Yeah, good call.
That's universal. Yeah. So no more medium tires in Q2.
I'm happy about this, because I feel like it never did what it was designed to do.
Well, it never did
because the teams were just too damn fast.
It never did once Pirelli went to their standard allocations.
Yeah, and the team the good teams were quick enough to get in to Q3 even on the slower of the two tires. So it was good in practice. It looked good on paper, but it just didn't translate to the real world. At least not for the last chunk of years. So I'm totally fine with that.
I feel like there's just slightly less intrigue in Q2 itself. But hopefully we'll kind of get a little bit of a mix up of the strategy amongst the top 10, and that hopefully make it more interesting. But we also have brand new tires, and who knows what is going to happen with that anyway. So
do we know, speaking of gearbox, do we know the actual allocation of parts? Is that going to be something crazy like 3 again? Or
I thought it's
I don't know. Have we seen an official allocation yet for the 25 races for the other parts?
No, I don't think so.
No, but we got something official. F1 for beginners.
Yeah. Look into that.
Hopefully we get some insight on that. Hopefully it's more than 3 for a lot of components there, because 25 races is going to be interesting. But yeah, I
23.
I don't know if you guys, what are your guys' thoughts on the gearbox deal? I never really kind of had an issue with the prior one, but I think this gives teams more flexibility to swap things out. If you have an issue, it's not a guaranteed grid drop, which I think is nice. If you blow a training on race one, you've still got a pool there, and you're not killing yourself, immediately right out of the season. So I guess I'm in favor of that. Less penalties is a good thing, or hopefully potentially less penalties.
Yep, agreed.
So,
the grid penalties were getting pretty ridiculous at the end of last year, so hopefully they do revise that.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right,
so
moving on,
takes that out
we have a number of extensions to talk about. The first one, big one for us, close to home, Andy's second home, many would argue. Andy, tell us about Coda and the extension we found out for that race.
Yeah. I thought you were getting ready to say Andy was getting a contract extension without that.
They let me stay. I was
going to play the applause sound effect.
But Circuit of the Americas, this was announced, I believe, late last week. Has agreed to a 5-year extension with Formula One to continue to host the race through the 2026 season. Obviously, we all saw the record-breaking crowd. I was part of that record-breaking crowd, as was Deanna and John. So it makes total sense that they would want to.
Thanks for the dig, Andy.
Sorry, we wanted you there.
More airborne for you, James, next time.
But it was, some good quotes. Stefano Domenicali, president of Formula One, said, "We're thrilled to announce the extension of with Circuit of the Americas ahead of the exciting 2022 season. I want to thank the promoter for their ongoing dedication and enthusiasm for Formula One. We're together. We are continuing to grow the excitement around sport in the U.S. following the huge success of Netflix, the work of ESPN, and the incredible season we had in 2021. Austin is a great city, and the track is a favorite for all of the drivers, and we cannot wait to be back in October for more action and entertainment." I can also tell you that the repaving efforts basically aren't as complete as they're going to get, at least for now, but basically everywhere from turn 2 all the way through turn 10, which was extremely problematic for both MotoGP and for Formula One last year, that has been completely redone. They've also redone parts of the stadium section, I think from like turn 15 all the way, I think up to 19. So John had shared a great shot of the overhead from a plane of, and you can clearly see what parts of the track have been repaved. So I think they've said that they have actually, since in the opening of the track, they've now repaved approximately, I think, 90% of the surface. So hopefully the bumps are hopefully no more, and we'll have some awesome lap times in 2022.
I didn't mind the bump so much from an F1 perspective, but I mean, from a MotoGP perspective, it was getting silly. But yeah. Andy, isn't that just a kind of a consequence of the soil and things around there? And I mean, the whole landscape there was built up, right? Didn't that all used to be pretty much flat before?
It was basically marshland or basically something like that. I mean, the only thing you could have out there was really cow farms, because nothing else would really grow. So, I mean, it's built, and they trucked in tons and tons of dirt when they constructed this thing. The hill is a completely artificially made hill. So that was a creation.
And that's a big old hill.
Yes, it is.
Someone who's walked it several times.
Yes,
oh my God. I forgot about that.
Yes, it is. It is a big old hill. But that was a creation of Coda when they moved in there. So, yeah, I mean, and not to mention just the temperature differential that place gets. They get anywhere from 110 degrees in the shade to 10 degrees outside. So, I mean, just all that heaving, and
hurricanes,
expanding, contracting, it just plays havoc on the tarmac itself. But it looks like they've taken the right steps to fix it. This now, they'll have a good solid stream of income from that. So it means hopefully the venue can be stable. And we've got now an anchor point, I think, for F1 in the U.S. Miami looks to be really good. There's talk, more than just talk, about Las Vegas potentially really, really happening. So 3 potential F1 venues in this country is something I never, ever thought we would see. It's a good time to be an F1 American fan.
Can I just say that if we thought Miami was expensive, what do you think Vegas is going to be?
Booked yesterday.
Might need to take out a loan.
God.
That's when we need to get like a suite that overlooks the track somehow, some way, and book it like 2 years in advance and figure out the track map. And that might be the most affordable method here.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's a crazy world that we could potentially have 3 races in the U.S. and 0 races in Germany. for the long foreseeable future.
That's weird.
So it's a changing world in F1. Not everyone's real happy about that, but I mean, like I said, the American fans have showed up. Hopefully, Miami is a fun track. Hopefully it suits the new cars well. I think it should. I don't think it would suit the old cars at all, but the new ones on paper it should be good. So yeah. And who knows, maybe we'll get some yachts around that stadium or something. I don't know if that was a real tweet or not, James. I could see it being a plausible thing.
Not a lot of thought in that one. So moving on to the next extension, John, near and dear to your heart, I believe this has to be the track at the top of your bucket list as far as race destinations go.
Oh, yeah.
But Singapore. How long we have
Singapore
race there?
Yeah, so wonderful news for me. As you guys know, Singapore is, like James said, has been number one on my bucket list for a long, long time. I had tickets, had plane, had hotel, everything back in 16 or 17 before I'm blanking on it. But there was some health issues going on around the world. I'm trying to remember. Zika. Yeah, it was when they had a huge Zika issue, and Singapore got hit extremely hard. So that kind of detoured our plans. We ended up going to Monza, and that was an incredible trip. So we certainly made up for it. But yeah, Singapore has been on my bucket list for a very, very, very long time. To see that contract extension just warms my heart because I know it was going to be probably impossible for me to go this year. With life changing drastically on my side in the near future. So yeah, this gives me a lot of hope. It's a long freaking flight, but I think there is some direct flights over there, maybe from Chicago even. So, I cannot wait. I will find some way somehow to get over there by 2028. So I'm friggin' thrilled for this.
All right, and then next up, we've got Bahrain. D, will you be 40 by the time they're done in Bahrain? Because the rest of us are going to be old as shit.
Is she going to be 30 then? I don't even know.
Mid-30s?
I will be well, if it's still the first race of the season, I will at least be 39.
Now you'll be like me, living the dream.
She'll be the only one left on the show because the rest of us will be long gone and 6 feet under. It'll be
Fernando Alonso
will be the old
50.
one. She'll have to recruit.
Alonso's going to be 55 when this contract runs out.
I'll still be going, probably. If you can convince me.
Hey, it's all part of L Plan.
Yep.
So, yeah, what do you think about a 14-year extension, though? That's pretty much insane, huh?
I don't know how I feel about all these, like, super 10-year plus long contract extensions. But, yeah, I like Bahrain. One of those, at bare minimum, one of those needs to be Bahrain outer again. Yeah. It has to happen again. I loved it, and I want it back. Please.
I would agree with that.
At
Andy,
least it's Bahrain, though. And
all right.
not something worse than that. Sorry.
Andy, competition for you. What's your favorite extension? Coda till 2026 or Norris at McLaren till 2025?
I'll take Lando at McLaren until 2025 because that was a very, very viable. He was getting offers from a lot of the top teams. It reestablishes, I think, McLaren as a top team. That's where he wanted to stay. Dude who's made a step in his career. Hopefully, will continue to do so this season. I hope the team is able to give him the car that will allow him to fight. You saw flashes of it last year. I just want to see that more consistently moving forward. So I'm excited for that. I first learned of Lando Norris in the small Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand. I've been following that dude's career path ever since. I want to be proven very, very right that when he signed with McLaren, that was going to be one of the most significant moves that team has ever made. And it looks like it's going that way. So I'm excited for that.
Hell yeah. And then finally, not really an extension, but official word that Otmar Zafnauer is going to be the Alpine team principal. One thing I didn't see for sure, though, is that right? Is that effective immediately? Or is there going to be
so.
Okay. I know sometimes they have that like gardening thing, and I don't really understand, but
I think because he was fired, I don't think there's any gardening leave. That's usually when somebody wants to make like a lateral move or something like that. But Otmar and BWT also now going over to the Alpine camp. So we're going to see Alpine's livery, I think, tomorrow. So when that happens, look for the pink stripes, and we'll be interesting to see where they're going to put it.
And then
we have just Alpine and Alfa Romeo, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But Alpha's not until testing, right? Because all they showed
Until
was that,
after testing.
That cool camo. Did you actually see the picture? And I don't want to get into liveries because we are going to have our next episode will be all about liveries and what we think about them. But I did see a really badass picture of Bottas. Kind of feels weird saying that, but in the all black suit and the camo livery for their shakedown car. That was actually pretty cool.
I don't think they'll keep those overalls, but I hope they do. I love them.
Yeah, they look really good. But yeah, so that's it for the extensions and then team principal change there. So last item on the list, Drive to Survive has a release date. It is March 11th. So my question to each of you is, how do you plan on watching, whether it be like Deanna and watching the entire season or attempting to all at once last year? Maybe watching, I've seen some people say they're just going to watch the finale first and see how they did that whole last race thing. Some people might try and watch it casually, spread it out a little bit, or maybe not at all. So, John, how do you plan on consuming your Drive to Survive content this off season?
So in prior years, I've kind of just binged it on that first day or so. This year, I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch it at all, but I feel like this might be something that I spread throughout, maybe like a summer break thing. I don't know. I'm not like gung ho about it this year as I am with prior years. I feel like there's just going to be a lot of, weird drama with this one. And there's also some things that I just don't really want to rehash as well. Of plenty of things that we've talked about. So yeah, this might for me just be like a summer break or just a casually when there's nothing on a Thursday night, kind of one of those deals to pick an episode from time to time. But yeah, it's gonna be a little bit different for me, I think, this year.
Yeah, fair enough. Andy, what's your plans?
I think I want to take March 11th off because I think that's one of the testing days where it is on TV. So my day will probably start at 2 a.m. to watch as much of the testing as humanly possible before I take a nap and then watch maybe a few episodes of Drive to Survive. I don't necessarily know that I'll binge it, all of it. I usually tend to watch it over like that weekend. I figure if I get to Sunday and I'm pretty much wrapping up, then I've done my, kind of diligence in seeing it. But I do want to see what Netflix does with it. They certainly have enough content. The hope is that they don't somehow manage to make it bad, because I don't think they will. But I hope they don't take too much dramatic license. There's enough there. You just basically have to present what happened.
Yeah, the storyline kind of wrote itself. You didn't really need to manufacture much like prior years. So
they still will, though. Dee, I know you were kind of waffling back and forth on what you were going to do. Have you made a decision yet? The people not just want to know.
The people want to know, Deanna.
So last year I woke up at 3 a.m., watched it, then worked all day, and then spent the entire weekend editing that video, and it was a horrible experience. And it had a mixed reaction, the video itself. I still get some fun comments on that video. So it depends. If I do that again, it just depends how much I hate myself on March 11th. At 3 a.m.
I'm
not committing to any decision because it's really stressing me out, the thought of doing all that again. But I will take off March 11th if I decide to do it, because I can't do that again.
I'm with you, Andy. If I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. for a non-race event, then it's going to be for testing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what day of the week is that?
It's Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, some of us don't work Friday, so I'm already off that day. So I guess that just answered my question. I didn't know what I was going to do. I figured I'd kind of space it out, but I don't know. I might binge it. Assuming it attracts my attention, I'll probably just watch it all the way through so I can talk about it on whatever podcast we deem as worthy of the Drive to Survive content.
I mean, it will be in full 4K, beauty, and visually it will be very, very stunning, and that's always a big chunk of it. But
I'm hoping there's some kind of focus on the Ferrari McLaren battle throughout the season.
Yeah,
I'm sure that'll be a good episode.
Yeah.
And then I'm like really interested to see how they kind of portray the end of the season and all those events. Like, I'm not as emotionally scarred as as some. So
Or how
I think
far
I'll be
they'll.
able to watch it again and not have an
Well,
issue.
the other thing is, how far do they keep going? Do they just go up till the award ceremony,
Yeah.
and that's when they finally cut it off,
That's a
or
good
do
point.
they? Did they wait until Massey got fired and they're still doing some post editing now? So who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ways they could spin this, but yeah, I think every TV in my house will be on testing. I'll get around to Drive to Survive if there's an opportunity, but yeah. Testing's most precedent for me. I want to see
just
these
another
like
example
20-second clips of cars on track is just not enough for me right now. So I need more action.
It's just another example of why everybody should have a multi-TV display in whatever their media room is, because sometimes you got to watch more than one thing at once.
No, I agree with you.
That is true.
Used to have one, and then I got sick of managing it.
Yeah.
But kudos
Yeah,
to those who do.
Yeah.
If Deanna had multiple TVs, it would take up her entire apartment. So
I do get out 2 TVs if I sit on my couch and watch a race. I have 2 TVs out.
how do you
It's
get,
a
like, one
whole
of them
process if I sit
Is
on my
one
couch
of them
and
like
watch a race.
halfway in the hallway or something?
No, it's not.
Well, the benefit of speaking in the hallway, there's a 32-inch TV seems like
Yeah.
a 65-inch.
It's because everything's so thin. It all goes one way. It's fine. It's fine.
New
I got plenty
York.
of space.
Have you talked about F1 to any of your neighbors yet? Can you have like a hallway watch party?
No, but they probably hear me
That's-
yelling about it all the time. I feel
I
bad for them.
guarantee you they do that. Yeah. I
should probably,
can't
like, send them
imagine
a gift
insulation
basket
in a building that
as an
age
apology.
is probably that well.
Oh no, it's horrible. I'm just freezing to death in here this winter. It's lovely. It's so cold in here. When it snowed, snow got into my apartment and it didn't melt.
Oh
Nice.
no,
That's
I've
how
been there.
cold I've been recently.
Yeah.
So just if I die of hypothermia in the next few weeks, or if I disappear, you know why.
It'll only make you stronger. The cold builds character. You'll be
Does
fine.
it? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I.
But
tell
I will be in
Why-
St. Pete next weekend, which
There you go.
I'm so excited for so many
Why do you
reasons.
think- why do you
Mostly
think me and
because I
Andy-
will be warm.
Why do you think me and
You'll
Andy are
fall out.
such
You'll be
great
fine.
guys? We've been born and lived through this cold, terrible winters every single year.
Hey,
Yeah.
it snowed 3 weeks in a row in North Carolina, which is I don't know what the hell is going on around here. So
All I can tell you, it was 16 degrees last night. Tonight it's 45. So
All me.
what does that tell you?
that's
Heat
warm.
wave.
Yeah, that's
All
nice.
me.
No, freaking serious heat wave.
That's like
all
shorts
the
weather.
snow mountains finally started to melt.
Yeah.
I
no,
cracked
it's
open
just
my
one of
windows
those.
when we hit 55 the other day.
Got to.
Yeah, that's like shorts and flip flop weather right there.
All right, well, we're officially off the rails now, so I think it's time
Big
to bring it
surprise.
home
Yeah.
here.
That's never happened before.
So next up, you should see our livery episode dropping in about a week's time. We'll talk about our personal opinions on how every team looks. Spoiler alert, the Ferrari looks fucking awesome, and I'm super excited about it, so can't wait to talk about it more with you guys. But until then, if nobody has any final thoughts, I'll throw it to Andy, and he will take us away.
Yep. And as always, may all your laps be fast.